Most people can draw an avocado, but very few can make it look real. So in this video, you're going to learn not one but two textures, the rough outer skin and the soft inner pulp properly. So by the end of this tutorial, you won't just draw an avocado, you'll understand how to handle two completely different surfaces in one drawing. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start from learning how to build the skin of the avocado, and for that olive green 173 is going down first. I'm using a Faber-Castell Polychromos set, but you can use the similar shade form whichever color pencil set you have. And you can also use this equivalence chart to select colors from your Faber-Castell Classic Colors set. Instead of filling the surface like a flat shape, begin with small curved and wavy strokes. The avocado skin is not smooth like plastic. It has tiny bumps and subtle unevenness. Pressure control becomes everything here. Some strokes go in darker and some stay softer. The darker strokes sit inside the tiny bumps while the softer ones represent the areas catching light. That variation is what creates realism. Without it, the skin instantly looks flat and lifeless. Many beginners make this mistake of repeating the same stroke over and over like they're mowing grass. Same size, same pressure and same rhythm. And as a result, the avocado looks flat and messy instead of realistic. So keep the stroke lengths irregular. Add a few slightly longer and some shorter. Keep in mind that nature never copies and pastes. All the reference images you need, including the grid and outline versions, are available on our Academy site to make your drawing process smoother and more structured. Another important thing to keep in mind is that strokes should follow the roundness of the avocado. They wrap around the curve instead of cutting straight across it. Think of it like wrapping tape around a ball. The direction bends with the form. If texture ignores the curve underneath, the avocado will feel like a balloon that lost all its air. The center area where light hits stays lighter and less textured for now. Planning ahead matters a lot. If that highlight area gets too dense too early, then recovering brightness later becomes frustrating. Colored pencils layer like stacking blankets. The thicker the pile, the harder it is to remove. As you move towards the edges, increase the depth gradually. So add a smooth base layer first before building a heavier texture. And for smooth base, circular motions work beautifully. They prevent streaks and create that soft blended foundation. Once the base is smooth, earth green 168 layers over it. This enriches the tone without overpowering it. Like seasoning food, it enhances what is already there. Then the darker green shade comes back to reconnect the texture, which in this case is olive green 173. Don't forget to slightly overlap these textural strokes between sections to make the surface feel continuous instead of stitched together. To really push the depth inside the bumps, black shade is added carefully. Make sure to keep the pressure low, as pressing too hard with black and the paper gets indented, leaving scars that blending cannot fix. And that's how many perfect drawings get ruined. Controlled pressure keeps the texture sharp yet believable. You can also add a light glaze of olive green 173 to soften the transitions if required, and everything starts looking cohesive. Very little light is reaching the bottom portion of the avocado, so this area naturally needs more depth. So black color goes in near the lower edge with stronger pressure close to the edge and gradually lightens the pressure as you move away. That soft fade creates a natural gradient. If the pressure stays heavy everywhere, the shadow will look stamped instead of rounded. Don't forget to darken the earlier texture slightly so it doesn't disappear inside the shadow. But avoid adding too many dark strokes in the center. That's a common beginner mistake. When everything gets dark at once, the drawing suddenly looks muddy and confused. Now for the small brown tinted section, use dark brown or walnut brown 177 to build the base along with texture. Keep it dense but controlled. You can also darken selected lines with black color again to boost contrast. Always compare your darkest area with your lightest one. Without contrast, even a good texture looks weak. You can see that the green starts fading on the top, so lightly restore it with olive green 173. Small corrections like this keep the surface fresh instead of dull. For the stem, Start with a brown base. Add a slightly warmer brown to build richness. And finish with a thin, darker touch to define the top edge. Always keep the layers simple and controlled. Now comes the highlights, and this is where drawings either come alive or fall apart. Always use a mono zero eraser for softer highlights and place them right beside darker texture. Highlights floating randomly in the middle of nowhere make the surface look confused. Keep in mind that light always belongs next to shadow. Pressing too hard with the eraser is another beginner mistake. It creates thick white scratches that scream, "I tried so hard." So lift gently. You can also use white color to enhance brightness but keep the pencil sharp. If highlights look too bright, lightly go over them with olive green 173 to blend them back in. Now whenever and wherever you need sharper highlights, use the electric eraser and follow the flow of the texture. Mix sharp and soft highlights. Too many sharp ones look artificial and too many soft ones look blurry. So balance is what makes it look realistic. Also keep in mind that if a highlight ends bluntly, it will look unnatural. So flick the eraser slightly to taper the edge. Use a mono zero eraser and add highlights at the edges of the brighter ones to achieve a cohesive look. You can go back and forth and adjust the tint, highlights and details according to your drawing to achieve a desired sharpness. And with that, the rough outer skin of avocado finally looks dimensional instead of flat. Now let's move to the sliced avocado in the front. This is where most drawings lose dimension because the pulp gets shaded evenly. Before starting with anything else, you should erase the grid lines first. If graphite stays underneath light colors, it will keep peeking through no matter how much you layer, and the slice will never look clean or creamy. If you want to watch the full step-by-step tutorial of this drawing, you can access it for free on our Academy site. Now for the pulp part, use any lighter shade of cream, and in this case I'm using cream 102. Keep in mind that pressure stays stronger near the pit and gradually reduces toward the outer edge. That gradient gives a natural look. If equal pressure is used everywhere, the slice will look flat like a basic shape colored in with the bucket tool. Now deepens the shadow near the pit, and for that you can use Nepal Yellow 185. And you can see how it also added the required warmth. Without it, the pulp looks grey and lifeless, as avocado needs warmth to look juicy. Since I often mix graphite with colored pencils for better control, outlining the pit with a 2H pencil keeps the edge clean without making it too harsh. To create a blended shadow effect, you can use black color, but it will be very difficult to blend. So the more effective way is to layer graphite gently. And for this method, you do not need any extra graphite powder at all. Just use the same dry blending brush that you normally use for graphite drawings. Make sure the brush is medium sized, not too big, so you have better control. Lightly rub the brush over the area where you want the shadow and let the leftover graphite in the bristles settle onto the paper. You will notice how naturally soft and smooth the shadow starts to look without any harsh edges. Don't forget to add this thin strip between the skin and the pulp, because without it the slice will look unfinished and slightly flat. If by chance this gradient starts to look patchy, then you can layer cream color over the edges to achieve a softer blended look. And look how fresh and juicy the inside of the avocado has started to look. Now comes the pit, and this is where direction of textural strokes matters even more. Start layering curved strokes placed close together using a brown shade. And in this case, I'm using burnt ochre 187. Focus on the center and add slightly more strokes to help it look fuller and more raised. If everything gets filled evenly from edge to edge, the pit will immediately look flat. At this stage, bring in a darker brown to enhance the texture, and burnt sienna 283 works perfectly to layer those thin, deeper strokes. Keep the strokes slightly shorter near the center and slightly longer near the edges. That difference builds the spherical illusion. Now if you start noticing that your strokes are not coming out as sharp and dark as you expected, and you know what? It happens because the base layer underneath is already too packed. So let me share a quick hack with you all. Instead of forcing darker pressure with your color, use a mono zero eraser to lift pigment in controlled stroke. This is not random erasing. This is carving space for sharper strokes. Now you can see that the darker brown strokes sit clearly on top and look crisp instead of muddy. Now pick an even darker brown shade like Walnut Brown 177 and start adding depth in the area where less light is reaching to create that natural shadowed effect. Keep the darker strokes mainly toward the bottom so the shadow stays concentrated there and the pit continues to look round. If the darker tones extend too far upward, the pit loses roundness and starts looking flattened. Don't forget to layer warm brown strokes in between the darker ones to achieve a more 3D texture. And here a light touch of B graphite adds more depth at the very bottom edge, fading upward carefully. Never forget to add such small highlights and details, and you can see how this small highlight added so much life to the top portion of the pit. And just like that, the pit feels solid instead of looking like it was chopped straight down the middle. Now comes the step that makes everything believable, and that is the cast shadow. You can begin by layering black color to build darkness right under the avocado, but keep the shadow strongest near the edge of the object and gradually reduce the pressure to make it softer as you move away. Real shadows behave exactly like this. They stay tight near the object and then slowly fade outward. Now, as you all know, I love experimenting with different mediums. And one thing I discovered is that layering graphite over black color makes the shadow look beautifully smooth and blended. Black color alone can be very difficult to blend properly, and if you are not careful, it can turn patchy very quickly. That is why graphite layered over black creates a deeper and much smoother result compared to using black alone. Once you are satisfied with the overall shape and depth of the shadow, you can gently blend it using a blending stump or a dry brush and soften the outer edge. That soft transition is very important. If the shadow edge looks sharp, the entire drawing will instantly look fake. Real shadows melt into the surface. They do not end with the hard line. And that final shadow is what truly lifts the avocado off the page and makes it feel grounded instead of floating. And with this last step, the avocado drawing is complete. What started as two simple shapes now looks textured, grounded, and fully dimensional. Realism is not about talent. It's about pressure control, direction awareness, layering strategy, and patience. So practice with focus, watch your progress closely, and improve through small adjustments. Also, if you are an absolute beginner and want to learn drawing from scratch, you can join our drawing course on AHR Studios Academy. It is now trusted by 20,000 students across 165 countries, and you can enroll today with 90% off. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.